Today we have very interesting theme. We will work with handkerchiefs and we will create from them two remarkable brooches, Komono. This kind of needlework is habitual for Japanese, but we know about it not much. For this reason, it's possible to attribute it to rare kind of creativity. We are sure that you will like today's products and you will create, using our advices and recommendations, something similar for yourself and for your friends. Hello, my name is Natasha Fokhtina, and I'm glad as always to welcome you in our studio. Our today's lesson I suggest to dedicate to incredible rare kind of needlework for Russia as Komono. I'm sure that many of you, in general, hear this word for the first time, and some have thought that I've made a reservation and have decided that today we will do something with a kimono. No, I wasn't mistaken, but you are right too. This kind of creativity nevertheless concerns a kimono, love and the anxious attitude of Japanese to the national clothes are the basis of this kind of needlework. How do you think? What remains from a kimono after it has sorted time? You think that it's thrown out? Any Japanese never ever such thing. The kimono is an expensive thing, and simply to throw out these clothes is inconceivable and impossible. Along with other kinds of second use of a kimono, the masters make of small racks small souvenirs. It's toys for children, dolls, garlands, women's decorations, brooches and other products. All these small things which will live their life continuing a kimono way are called komono. I offer you today, together with me, to try to work in this way and to create two amazing and beautiful brooches, and absolutely different both visually and, by the way, what is remarkable, made in the different ways. The first brooch, in the form of an ester, gathers from separate models, which before the assemblage put together in a special way, braided and glued. Only Japanese are good judge of origami could think out such. The second brooch is even more interesting. It's served from one piece of a fabric, but under the certain scheme, and looks like a hydrangea flower and even with petals. Amazing, beautiful things turn out without special work and for a short period of time. You can make one decoration for half an hour or two. I'm sure that you already wait for that moment when I will get the old kimono and will cut it. But perhaps I will disappoint you. I didn't have the kimono and never had. But there are handkerchiefs which, with the advent of paper, more and more lose every year their agency. By the way, the old and the washed-off handkerchiefs won't approach for making brooches komono. First of all, they will look not so aesthetically, and also a certain rigidity of a fabric. In other words, its impregnation is necessary for us. But drawing isn't important. As a result, on the finished thing, we will see only color stains. I think I've already enough intrigued you, and you can't wait to look how it makes. We start to work. So, we begin our work with making of such brooch in the form of an ester. We need the usual handkerchief. I repeat, it's important to us that it's rigid, that it had special impregnation. For this reason, we don't wash it before work. Further, we take a ruler and a pencil, and indenting from the handkerchief's edge 1 centimeter, we start to draw the table of squares 3 on 3 centimeters. We draw as we want. We can at first draw the vertical strips and then the horizontal. By the way, it is the most convenient to draw a soft pencil. And that it will be more clearly to you, I will do it on a paper, and I will make squares rather more. After the table is ready, we cut off from edge of a handkerchief a strip in width of 1 centimeter, and we cut a handkerchief into pieces. We should have an identical squares. You can spend on one brooch from 50 to 60 details, therefore I advise not to be greedy and to cut at once many squares that it will be enough. Now is the most interesting. We need to transform each square into a petal. At first we put it thus, along a diagonal in half, and then from left to right in half. Further, we take a toothpick and glue. I will take a chopstick as I have the big squares, and I wound it thus. On a stick. And at the end I fix with glue that it don't fall to pieces. In this way, we need to make a tower of the petals. After you will make enough of petals, we can begin the assemblage of our brooch. It's easier to take as a basis a usual badge. It already looks like a brooch, only without a decor. But at first it's better to glue it over with a fabric. In other words, that strip which we write at the beginning cut off from a scarf. You can make it simply. We put glue on the badge and put a fabric at first only on edge and then on all surface. I notice that before you glue a fabric on a badge, it's possible to cut it slightly. And right after it, assemblage begins. At first, we lay on glue the first row of the petals, then the second, the third and the middle. And when glue will dry up, we will get a handmade bagatelle of amazing beauty in style of Komono. I'm sure that no friends will refuse of this gift. If you have understood how to make the first brooch in the form of an ester, so you won't have any problems with making of a brooch in the form of a hydrangea. We begin our work with scheme, drawing, and directly on a handkerchief. For this purpose, we need the pattern from a cardboard 4 cm in diameter. We draw it out with a soft pencil. We draw like this. At first, the center circle and in it number 1. Then we go clockwise and we draw the second circle, indenting somewhere half a centimeter from the center circle. We put in it number 2. Further, we drive a circle at number 3. As a result, we will have 19 circles with numbers inside. The ready scheme should look like this. Now we take a needle with a thread and little beads and we start to stitch with a taken seam. The first flower is our circle with number 1. For clarity, I have drawn here such big circle and I will stitch it. We sweep it together in a circle like this. Then we put together a thread and we have such bag. We need to straighten it and to stitch crosswise. In other words, at first we do from the center one stitch in one side, then another in opposite, and we tighten and once again we stitch perpendicularly in 2 stitches our flower. And we take a bead to fix it and sew in the flower center. By the way, we don't cut off a thread after have sewed the first flower, and we pass to the second circle, that is to a circle with number 2. And again, we stitch it in a circle, form on it 4 petals and fix a bead in the center. By the way, I notice that if we haven't to write the numbers inside the circles, somewhere on 4 or 5 fragments we necessarily would get confused. Now everything is simple. After the first circle there is a 5th. After the 16th, 17th, the 18th and the 19th. And when you will have 19 flowers, you take the scissors and cut off on in a circle your raceme. It's necessary to stitch it in a circle with a taken seam and to pull together. By the way, it's possible to put inside the brooch some synthepon to add volume, or not to do it, cause it's up to you. Further, we need to make the petals. We cut out from this handkerchief or another 2 squares, one a little larger, another smaller, and we put them at first along the diagonal in half, and then from left to right in half, and we stitch. Then we pull together, fix a thread and cut off. And ready petals we fix to the brooch. Now it's necessary to gather our brooch hydrangea. It's necessary to cut out from the rest of the handkerchief a circle 6 cm in diameter and to sew it with rendering seam to the raceme. Then we sew a fastener and our brooch is ready. In my opinion, these bagatelles look excellently, and I didn't see on the streets of Moscow something like this. I think that you have got enough information what is kimono. Probably this program seemed to you not so various and even boring, but now you have had the valuable information which you hardly will find somewhere else, and the skill which can be received only from the master owning this technique. If you don't trust me, go to the internet and look there for something about komono. I'm sure that now you have much more information than is there. Also, I'm sure that having learned to make such brooches in the form of an ester or in the form of a hydrangea, you won't think about what interesting to please your friends. And generally, I think that our relatives blame us for nothing all time, for we collect at home any unnecessary things and too much clubber, and we stuff our apartments with it. Simply, we are the real Japanese at heart, and we cannot stop the way to existence of anything, as in each of them there was initially a heart. And though we don't have a kimono, but we have skillful hands, and sometimes we have a very short time which we are able to spend with advantage. For example, I know that now you are going to make the brooch in komono style, and you remember where is your handkerchiefs light. I think that I've guessed. Here on I wish you creative inspiration, and I say goodbye to new meetings and ideas. There was Natasha Fokhtina. Good luck and goodbye.